Thank you. We go now to Mr. Scott Perry of Pennsylvania.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Ambassador, great to see you. Please don't take any of the comments personally, but as an American, quite honestly, I am disappointed and disgusted with the ineffectual and pathetic response from this administration regarding this circumstance in Ukraine. And I'm just wondering, to start out, does the administration agree, because we've heard in other forums about grievances, legitimate grievances, does the administration agree with the justification from Putin regarding the protection of ethnic Russians in any way, shape, or form?
There is nothing that justifies the kind of violence that we've seen Russia unleash in eastern Ukraine.
I agree with you, but
however,
they have legitimate grievances? Does Russia have legitimate grievances in this regard?
Russian-speaking citizens in eastern Ukraine, like citizens in other parts of Ukraine, have long wanted some of the things that Russia championed for them: language rights, decentralization. But all of those things were on offer, first from the transitional government of Yatsenyuk from March onward, and since with President Poroshenko and the new Rada. So there is no reason for
Okay, so I just want to
dead.
make sure, because, you know, history sometimes get lost on us as we go through our days, but I just want to make sure that the administration is familiar and aware of the history of Stalin and Khrushchev in the 20s and the 30s, and the terror famine and the starvation of the Ukrainian people, and the displacement and deportations and the re-establishment of Russians into the Ukraine. And so when Putin says that he's going to protect these Russian-speaking citizens, with all due respect, they were moved into Ukraine by killing the Ukrainians, and it's important to know that history when we talk about legitimate grievances. So I'm concerned. I too agree that we should send defensive weapons to Ukraine. I'm in the agreement camp on that. So, does the current posture of the strategic patience that I hear about, does the White House's, how does that fit in? How does their decision not to send defensive weapons at this point, how does that fit into strategic patience, or is it a part of it?
Nobody's been patient with what we're seeing in eastern Ukraine. Just to remind,
the Ukrainians have been patient because they have no choice.
We have sent, as you know, 18 million in
defensive weapons. So forget all that other stuff.
Right.
Defensive weapons. I don't know if you ever, I imagine you've been to a war zone. I have.
Yes.
Okay, blankets and all that. They don't stop bullets. They don't stop tanks. You must defend yourself. Harsh words, and we'll get back to you, and we're deciding that doesn't help. So I'm talking about defensive weapons and strategic patience. Where does one hinge on the other? How they fall together?
Some of the things we have sent do fall into the category of defensive non-lethal weapons. I would note again that the counter-fire radar batteries that we have sent did save lives. They enabled the Ukrainian forces to target where firing was coming from so that they could defend against it. We've also, provided support in
Okay, listen, I get it. With all due respect, that is the absolute minimum standard. It is not going to be effectual, which is why my opening statement about pathetic and ineffectual is valid, in my opinion. Let me ask you this. Can you explain the concerns within the context, the concerns about providing defensive weapons within the context that the President requested hundreds of millions of dollars from this Congress for training and equipping for moderate fighters in Syria? So in that context where we're going to send those folks weapons, not defensive weapons, but weapons and training, that somehow Ukraine and the people that have been there that are more like us than the other, they can't have those weapons. How do we reconcile that? What's the calculation there?
Well, as you know, the train and equip request for Syria goes to the need to defeat the ISIL threat, which is an existential threat as well to the homeland. I don't work on Syria policy, so I'm going to refrain from commenting.
Do you find that to be a little incongruent? We don't know who the Syrian fighters are. We don't know. Look, today they're fighting ISIS, tomorrow they're fighting Assad, the next day they're fighting us, and we're going to train them and send them weapons. Don't you find that a little incongruent? Have the Ukrainian people ever said that they were going to fight the United States, kill us, or the great Satan? Have they ever said anything like that?
Well, certainly we will register your strong position on this issue, Congressman. I would say that 18 million in security support is not nothing, I hear you, that you want to hear more.
At the end of my time here, we hear that sending defensive weapons will escalate the problem. Not sending them, that won't escalate the problem. It won't be a problem because there will be no more Ukraine. Thank you very much. I yield back.